Thank you everyone at the onset. Thank you for taking time on a Saturday. I understand it. Saturday is a lot of chores to be taken care of. Uh, does everybody understand the broad context of today's talk? So today's talk is going to focus on why, when you're building AI products, it requires altogether a new approach to product management. It requires a significant upgrade in the skills needed for product management for AI slash Gen AI products. Okay. So this talk is gonna be the why part of it, not the what and the how part of it. The what and the how part, how do we go about that? I'll address that as well. But large part of this talk is gonna be why in the first place. And the reason is we have been, all of us have been building software for the longest time, right? Which means we have also been working with product managers, or we ourselves are product managers who have been doing product management for the longest time, right? And if you think at a very high level, AI software is also nothing but a very specialized software. So why would one require a very specialized upskilling for product management when you're dealing with AI slash Gen AI products? Okay, so that's the broad context. Is that clear? Should we go ahead? Okay. By the way, how many of you understand that it actually requires a significant upgrade? Quick show of hands. Okay, three, four, couple of folks. Okay, okay. So let's go deeper into it and explore this thing, right? Uh, Bit about me. I'm Anuj Gupta. I'm the founder and CEO of Gradient Advisors. What I do now is I work with a bunch of startups and MNCs across the globe, helping them and guiding them on the AI journey. Uh, so I work with them very closely, right from strategy, vision, on to even GTM sales on a long-term basis. Uh, I have been doing AI for almost last 20 years. I've worked at both 0 to 1 startups as well as Fortune 50, leading and incubating multiple AI teams and multiple AI efforts. I have also had the fortune of authoring a major book in AI. The book is now already uh, in 5 languages, more than 150 citations used by 50 universities globally. The book has been endorsed by some of the top leaders uh, across the globe, including folks from Carnegie Mellon, UCSG, DeepMind, Google AI, Airbnb, Microsoft Research, and many, many more. Okay. Uh, this particular thread that we'll be talking about today is a part of a larger thread. The thread being that in today's world, there are two key problems. One, if you are not doing AI, chances of your survival are less. The rate at which this technology is coming and the rate at which it is changing the businesses. I think Mark Cuban said very recently there will be only be two kind of companies in the world. One, those who are doing AI and those who are not. And the ones who are not are unlikely to survive. Uh, the second aspect of that is doing AI is not good enough. You have to do it in the right way so that you can get the intended ROI and business outcomes. Today, the second part is in shambles for a lot of organizations. AI efforts are not leading to any ROI, any outcomes whatsoever, right? And what I do is I work with organizations and help them get this entire piece right. So this thread that we will be talking about today is largely based on my experiences over last 20 years. Okay. Uh, like I said, what we're gonna focus today is or is on the part of product management for AI first products, right? What we want to understand, is it an old wine in a new bottle, or is it a paradigm shift altogether, right? There are 5 parts to this: what, how, when, where, and why. Large part of this is gonna focus on the why part, and I'll address the other parts also, but very, very briefly. Right? With that broad context, should we go? Okay. Uh, Last year, I think somewhere in August or September, Netflix had posted a JD whereby they were looking for an AI product manager, and they were willing to offer up to 900K as a salary in Valley. Right? For the longest time, no one has seen such kind of crazy salaries for AI product managers. People have seen it for AI leaders, right? And those salaries are much higher than, even I would say, 900K. But no one had seen it for an AI product manager. And the obvious question was, why is Netflix willing to pay so high for an AI product manager? The answer in one line is, the breed of people who are very good at AI product management is very, very, very small. And that's why they are willing to offer such a high price. We all understand, right, how the market operates. Demand supply curve. When the demand is high and the supply is low, obviously the prices will be pretty high. Right? What we're going to look at today is, why is this the case that very few people are good at AI product management. Okay. So let's understand first the difference between a traditional software and an AI software, right? Traditional software is also known as software 1.0, and AI software is known as 2.0. I'm just going to referring it for brevity as 1.0 and 2.0, right? Also, feel free to stop me anywhere, ask any questions at any point of time. You need not hold your questions till the end. Okay. So I'm sure to all of us, this must be very, very clear, right? That AI will become a norm, right? And this is gonna happen very, very fast. I think it took good 20, 30 years for the adoption of IT, from the point it started in kind of late 80s till till mid of 2000s, and then came the cloud. Cloud adoption was around 10 years. I think started somewhere around 2000, right? And then went all the way up to 2010, 11, 12 maybe. AI is gonna be even more faster, right? So there is a second order effect which is at play, which is going to make this come even at a very, very fast rate, right? The picture 3 years from now is going to look very, very, very different. Okay. Now let's understand the key differences between 1.0 and 2.0. Right? One of the core differences is 2.0 is stochastic in nature, while 1.0 is deterministic in nature. How many of you understand this statement? Okay, we have 1, 2, 4. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna look at this part in greater detail. Okay. We will look at 2.0 requires designing control loops, feedback loops, and what is called as human in the loop. Right. We're gonna look at, in order to build 2.0, one requires data and why product managers have the greatest role to play in this. Right. We're gonna look at how do you introduce AI to your users. We're gonna look at the economics of AI, right? We're gonna look at the very process of building AI systems, and we're gonna quickly look at explainability and ethics part of it, right? I am not going to go in any of these topics in great detail. Please pardon me. But the purpose here will be to limit myself. Why? Because of these reasons, product management of AI software 2.0 is very different from product management of traditional software, which is 1.0. Okay, so let's first look at deterministic versus stochastic in nature, right? Can somebody help me or help us understand what is stochastic versus deterministic? Anyone? Folks, let's make it interactive rather than one way, please. I, I thought a bunch of you raised their hands saying that you understand. Yeah, Jairam, please go ahead. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah. So yeah, the outputs cannot be really predicted, right? It's always like a 90%, 80% outcome. And also that outcome cannot be like, so if you look at a similarity basis, like for example, in case of GenAI, the responses are really, let's say, a video or a text. So it's not like, it's algebraic equation where the value matches, right? So it's sort of a distribution always. So you look at distribution and evaluate. So there is always a probabilistic approach to how you evaluate an output.
Okay, okay. Some of us in the call happen to be coming from business backgrounds. So anybody else wants to take a shot at it? I won't necessarily go towards distribution while the point is absolutely right. Right. Yeah, Puneet.
Yeah, so deterministic nature would be, for the layman, let's say, in a software, you are clicking a button to take a specific action, let's say generate a report, right? So deterministic nature essentially means that the specific action that you requested the software to take, it'll kind of do that. But stochastic nature means that you kind of direct the software to, at a very high level, and the nitty-gritties and the finer aspects will be determined by the software or the model on its own. You can play with that, of course, to a certain extent, but largely the product or the software will do deeper level outputs. It will handle the deeper level outputs on its own.
Okay. Okay. So let's put it even more simply, right? What does deterministic mean? Deterministic means that if I freeze the system, that means I do not make. Okay. So if you do not make any changes to your system, you have frozen the system and you have frozen the input to the system. If I fix the two, then the output is also fixed. Whenever I'll have the same system and same input, my output will also be same. Okay. This is called deterministic. What the output will be depends on all the calculations and all the processing that happens inside. That's a separate story. But imagine based on all that processing, the answer is 18 for an input, say 4. Then whenever you take the same system and the input as 4, you will always get 18. The output will change if you change either of the two. It may or may not change, but if you change either of the two, it is likely to change. Stochastic system is where even if you freeze the system and you freeze the input, you can get different outputs. Okay, it basically comes from a distribution. That's the difference between a deterministic and a stochastic model. What does that mean? It means that in a AI software, you have frozen your model, you have frozen your system, you give an input for different instances of time, it can even give different outputs. Okay, now that's a key reason, a key difference between deterministic and stochastic models or systems. Am I clear? Yeah, we will come to guardrails and other things separate, right? But this itself is a very important point. Is everyone clear on this? Okay, let's go for the next one. Now, why is this important? Let's understand, right? So at the end of the day, what is a product manager's job, right? A product manager's job is to define how the output is going to look like or how my system is going to look like, right? And a key aspect of your PRDs is you have to define various flows. And for each of the flows, you define what the outputs are going to be. Now, and for each of these flows, what you want to ensure is that your users have the best possible experience, right? Now, why this becomes very difficult for AI software is because of the very point that we made, they are stochastic in nature. No matter what you do, it is very much possible that your software for a given input can start to throw arbit answers and you can't do anything about it. Now, how do you design systems? How do you design experiences that can work despite this uncertainty is a key aspect of AI product management. So, if this happens in a deterministic or in 1.0, it is because there is a bug in the software, right? That is not the case with the AI software. It is not necessarily that it's a bug. It can be. I'm not denying that possibility, but it is very much possible that despite no bugs, your software can throw arbit answers, right? And I'm sure you, all of you, must have seen scenarios where AI systems make mistakes, right? So that's a key part of it. No matter what you do, AI systems will make mistakes. Because they will make mistakes, you as a product manager need to know this upfront, and you need to be able to design the flows and how do you handle that user experience despite this uncertainty and errors in the system. Am I clear? Questions? Folks, feel free to please unmute yourself and ask if you have any. Okay. Looks like I did a great job of explaining this, or it did not make a lot of sense. Okay. I think a lot of people did get by it. So I'll move on. Okay. Now let's look at how many of you know what is a control loop? A quick show of hands. Okay. One. Okay. Okay. So the point that I made earlier is that your systems, AI systems will always make mistakes. There is no AI system as of today which is 100% correct. Are there gonna be any in the future? That's a very different line of attack altogether, which goes towards more of AGI and not the AI as we know it today. So it is highly unlikely that anytime soon we will have those kind of systems, right? Now, how when your users are using AI products, it might happen that your system starts to throw a lot of mistakes. And in which case, the users might not want those AI features or those AI recommendations anymore. They might want to take control on their own. So, control loop is ability to design flows. Yeah, Varun. Varun, you have a question? Can you unmute?
No, no, no. I think I accidentally raised my hand.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, so control loops are ability to design flows in the system whereby you can implicitly understand that the AI system is not working for the users, and maybe we should stop and hand over the control back to the users. Now, on your screen, what you see is an example of a Gmail where it is auto compose is on, and it is suggesting you a couple of words, a couple of phrases as you keep on typing, right? So as you keep on typing, it keeps on suggesting, and you keep pressing tab and you keep choosing those options. Those options are suggested in a as soft recommendations. Now, have you observed that if you press your backspace or your delete multiple times while this feature is on, at some point of time the feature stops working? So here is a great example of a control loop where if you press delete or backspace multiple times, it is taken as an inherent symbol or sign by the system. Hey, looks like what we are trying to assist is not working for the users and I should stop. Note that this is not at a cohort level. This is down to every single user. So the same system might be working for all of you, but at that point of time, if I press a couple of backspaces, it stops working for me. right? So this is where the control is handed back to the user. Am I clear? Folks, I would need feedback from all of you as well. And if the feedback can be vocal, even better. I think
Yes.
somebody had a question, please.
So, Anuj, this makes really good sense. So, I was not really clear on the control loops, but this is a very important point. So, thanks.
Yeah. Cool. So a lot of people tend to confuse between control loops and human in the loops. And I will make that distinction also clear. So control loop is, and the most important point is it should not be explicit. It should not be that I shout at my system and then the system listens to that voice and stops doing what it is doing. Right? It should be very graceful, right? So it should understand, hey, it is not working for my user. And for this particular user, the same model, the same system might continue to work simultaneously for 110 other users, which is all good. Any other questions, points before we move forward? Okay. Okay. Second part is how do you build feedback loops, right? So what are feedback loops? So feedback loops are typically when you go through an entire flow and you want to be explicitly asking the user, "Do did this work for you or not? If it worked, great. What part did you like and all that? If it did not work, then what parts did not work for you?" Right? So one, you are collecting a explicit feedback. Two, where this is very important is flows where things are not working for a lot of users. You use this specific data and try and bake this data back into your models and your systems. Okay, so this has two aspects to it. One, this is more explicit than control loops. Feedback loop does not hand over the control back to the user. It is at the end of the entire flow, right? So it's almost like you have gone to a restaurant, you had a great meal and all that, and then you are asked, how was your overall experience? And then the manager wants to incorporate your feedback, right, back into the processes and the whole thing. So that part is called the feedback loop. Okay. The important aspect of feedback loop is, as a product manager and as a team, we might want to collect with every user, which might not be the right way. Two, every user might not even fill it. Three, even if they fill it, it can be ambiguous. And a great example of that is a CSAT score in customer support. So a lot of people design systems in customer support to up the CSAT value. While you ask the user, how was your experience? The user is likely to not rate just that particular interaction with the system or agents, but your overall experience with the brand itself, right from the day when they ordered to the day where they are today in the journey, right? And which is why CSAT is actually not a good metric to measure user satisfaction, right? What is a good metric for that problem? That's a separate discussion. I'm not going to go into that part of it, right? But you need to have these nuances. And fourth, how do you need to build secondary system which can figure out, hey, looks like the experience wasn't very good for this particular user. Hence, uh, you show up this feedback option. One great example is if you are using Google Maps ever and try and take a route which is different from what the map is showing. And if you do that 2-3 times, Google Maps will often show you an option. Hey, looks like the path that we showed you did not work for you. We would like to know more, kind of an option, right? So that is their way to invoke the feedback loop. So the job of a product manager is to bake feedback loops and bake those mechanisms when it should even trigger. You can't go on asking every user on every flow. So you need to be very, very judicious with this part. I'll take a quick pause. Inputs, questions. Yeah, Shalab, please.
Yeah, Anuj. So like in my understanding, then control loops are usually like much less intervening, right, compared to feedback loops. So are there cases where like it's better to implement a feedback loop and not a control loop?
No, so the control loop is always there. So control loop is akin to, I would say, imagine a pilot flying a plane on an autopilot mode, and he always has the option of taking the control back on his hand, in their own hands. Now, this is control loop is the opposite of it, where the system figures out, hey, this is not, we are not able to serve you the way we would have liked. Hence, we are handing the control back to you. Okay?
Hmm.
Feedback loop. So control loop is always there somewhere in the background running. Feedback loop is at the end of the entire flow. How was your overall experience? Okay. So control loop is reactive, or rather, I would say proactive, right? We have figured out it's not working for you. Let me hand it over, right? Feedback loop is much more slow. You collect all the data. You might do it for thousands of users, and then you might bake that data back into your model and systems. So these two are very different concepts.
So in both, like probably it makes sense to like in a lot of cases it makes sense to have both
Oh
then,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. In AI systems, you actually need both. The
Yeah.
more critical, the more control loops need to be very much in place. So somebody was asking about the guardrails. These are some of the guardrails. There are a lot of guardrails that need to be built in AI systems, right? There are those which are popular, like privacy, bias, and all that. But there are these that really ensure that your experience continues to be great, because that is the fundamental premise of the product. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, let's go to the third part, which is human in the loop, right? So, what is human in the loop? Yeah. So, human in the loop is scenarios where we figure out that, hey, we are not able to give you the right answer, but, or for whatever reason, the model is not confident enough, but we understand that you expect an answer from us. And hence, what we will do is hand over the control to a third party human to assist you further on this whole piece. So the most common example are chatbots, right? Where the system, now ideally again, whether you do this implicitly or explicitly, that also is a reflection of the maturity of AI thinking within the company, right? User does not have to shout or use abusive words and all of that stuff before you bring human in the loop, right? You should be able to look at those subtle uh, indicators itself and being able to do that, right? But here the control is handed to a third party human, a live agent, who then understands your problem and tries to solve the problem. Okay. So in control loop, it's only system and user. The control goes back to the user. In feedback loops, it's only the system and the user, but it is invoked only at the end of the flow, right? And only you collect feedback retrospectively. Human in the loop is where in real time you hand over the control to a third party who then replaces the AI system and takes things forward. I'll take a pause. Are these three things clear?
Anuj,
Questions?
yes, it's clear. I,
Yeah,
Abhinash here.
please.
So,
Yeah.
so before transitioning from previous slide to this slide, I'm not sure if I've missed it, but what are these things, these three things exactly? Are they different approaches to improve the model, enhance the model,
No,
improve the
they are
quality
not.
of the product?
They are guardrails to No, they are guardrails to ensure great user experience. So, how do you design or how do you ensure great user experience despite your system making lots of mistakes? Of course, one answer could be let us improve our model, but you can't keep on improving the model every second, right? Those are back end work. But while the system is up and running, you still need to do something. Okay. So these three are one way to ensure great user experience while your team on the back end is still trying to fix the models and all of that stuff. But the point to be remembered is no matter how great your AI team will be, your models will always make mistakes. What will differ is how often they make those mistakes, on what inputs they might make those mistakes. So irrespective of
Got,
that, you will still have to build these. Okay.
got it. Understood. Thank you.
Okay. Any other points? Any other inputs, questions? Okay. Let's come to the third part, often the most ignored part, which is data. Okay. So the point is that in today's world, what has the chat GPTs and the LLMs have changed, right? There are two things that they have fundamentally changed. One is that the language in which the users interact with the machines because of LLMs and chat GPTs is closer to the human language as opposed to being closer to the system language. Okay. Earlier, we used to be very, very clear in our words and whatever we express, right? So we tried to be robotic in nature. Now that's not the case, right? The second thing that they have changed is because of these models, you get a fairly high degree of intelligence off the shelf, right? You need not necessarily start building your model on day one. However, that does not mean that you can run your entire AI company or AI product or whatever you have on the basis of LLMs. And when I say LLMs, I mean the pre-trained one. Okay. If your overall product, if your business finds tractions, as you start to get more paid customers, they'll start to demand more, which means you will have to build more better models. And for that, you need to have better data. Now, the point I want to make with this particular slide is this is called as YouTube 8M dataset. If I remember correctly, YouTube launched their new age, or rather, I would say deep learning based recommendation system in 2015 and or 2016, something like that. There is a paper that is available. Anybody can go and check that paper. But much before that, they created a team, and this paper is called YouTube 8M dataset. They created a team whose whole job was to collect data. And that is not necessarily the AI team. One of the big misconceptions that exist today is data collection is the job of the AI team. That is not the case, especially when the data happens to be data from the product, right? It is largely the job of a product manager, and which is why in great AI companies, you will also find roles which are called as data product managers. Their whole job is to collect data and build data products, which are then used by the analytics and the AI teams and other teams down the street, right? So this particular data set has 7 million video URLs, 450K hours of video, 3.2 billion audio video features, 4,716 odd classes, and on an average, it has 3.4 labels per video. The point I'm trying to make is for an AI team in a company like YouTube, which is a subsidiary of Google, and Google has always been AI first in their approach, for them to be able to build recommendation systems and systems that had impact on YouTube's overall experience for their users, they created teams whose whole job was to collect data. When it comes to data, it is the job of a product manager. When it comes to the data set, it is the job of the AI scientist. Somewhere in between, both have to work together. The closer you are to data set, you have to work with, or it's the job of the AI scientist or AI teams. The closer it is to the data, which is the raw dump, it is the job of the product managers and the product owners. This one trait makes AI product management a very different job as compared to a traditional product management. I have worked with a lot of product managers who are always like, before even we start collecting, you tell us what features we should collect. That's a very wrong approach to AI. When it comes to data collection, you must be as greedy as you can. Let us collect whatever we can. And those could be massive data sets. And what I'm showing is an example of that. So the example I give in my workshops is everyone wants to have a chat GPT kind of a system internally in their company. What no one is willing to do is the hard work that is needed to build the data set. So for a chat GPT, they crawled the entire internet, stored all that data, cleaned it. That data was labeled for over 2 to 3 years. There's a company called Scale.ai. I think half or maybe even more than half of Africa labeled that data for 2 to 3 years at $1 an hour or something like that. So that's the kind of investments one have to make on data set. And when it comes to data collection, it becomes the job of an AI product manager. I'll take a pause. Questions?
Hi Anuj.
Yeah, Mohammed, please.
Anuj, actually, apart from this YouTube example, right? I just want to have a clear example, like what exactly will the data be collected from the product manager? I just
Anything
need a
and
clear.
everything they can. Anything and everything. Collect as much as you can, collect all that you can, keep storing it and keep storing it. Because in today's world, because of the technology, we have been able to short circuit, I would say, model training time and all that, right? You can get started very quickly with chat GPTs and off the shelf. There is still no way to create good data sets. You have to do all the hard work. If I can give another example that I give to a lot of CXOs in my workshop is that everyone wants to have 8 Olympic medals like Michael Phelps. What no one wants to do is the hard work that Michael Phelps did. So it seems Michael Phelps trained for 5 years non-stop for without a single day of break. I think some 1800 odd days. He trained non-stop, day after day, night after night, to get to the point where he actually got 8 gold medals.
Okay,
So
okay,
Mohammed,
got it. Thank you.
I actually addressed the same thing. A lot of product managers ask AI teams, you tell us upfront what attributes to collect. That is an answer no AI team can give upfront. Because AI, you have to do a lot of experiments to figure out what attributes work, what attributes do not work. I can't say upfront. These are not recipes that grandmother wrote and gave it to me and I can tell, hey, I need this, this, this. No. There is applied R&D part. And because of which you must collect anything and everything.
Yeah, I got it, but the clear. Let me clear the question. My question was like, is there any limitation? Like, for example, if I start collecting it, the certain set of data might not be useful. So it's better to know what are the limitations to gather the information.
No. So see, if you find later on something is useless, you can always throw it off. But the point I'm trying to make is, imagine you realize 2 years down the line, oh, I should have collected 2 more attributes, which we did not collect in the first place. What do? You can't go back in time, right? Technology still can't take us back in time and redo all of that stuff. So the forward-looking approach says collect anything and everything.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Anuj.
Questions, inputs? Okay, does this make sense so far? A quick show of hands.
Anuj, can I get this a clear screenshot? The screen what you're sharing. Actually, this is in blur part, I guess.
I'm using a Mac, so it should not be an. I'm
It's
on a
too blur. I
Okay,
don't know what exactly.
wait. Sorry, I think my network switched. Give me a minute. I'll just switch the network.
Sure, sure,
Sorry.
sure.
A minute. I think it should get clear now. My pardon. Apologies. I didn't realize that my network had gone from 5G to 4G. Okay.
Okay,
Questions
will you
in
be sharing this
chat.
video after the meeting, Anuj?
I'm sorry.
And will you be sharing this recording after this meeting?
Yeah. So I'll be uploading this on our YouTube channel.
Sure, sure, sure. There I can just grab this screenshots.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, folks? Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so how many of you have seen this particular feature in YouTube? So if you go on this bar, right, to which is along with that video, you can go on forward. You see this graph that comes up, right? Okay, I see one, two. I'm sure all of us have seen this. Any guesses what this graph is for? So I think the
For
graph,
clarity, how many people skip to that point?
yeah. So how many people watched to that particular part, right?
Yep.
So if this part is, sorry, my pointer is not there. So if this part is high, that means a lot of people watch this particular part as compared to this particular part,
Yep.
right? So it's basically in a way eyeball distribution across the video, if I can crudely say that. Correct? Any ideas why YouTube might be doing this?
To find out like engagement with the video, like which to give the insight to the video maker, like which part of a video is more watched and
I think
Okay.
I
which is
think
less.
I think this will be used as the major clippings when you want to see those. When you scroll down, this is the part they show as first trailers or teasers. Nowadays. So those are
Okay.
the impactful part of the video that you want to sort of show.
Okay. So there are these under the bar, you have these skip to XYZ, right? That is what you are suggesting, Jairam.
No, not that. So if you
Okay.
look at YouTube now, you can just scroll through, and it's probably not YouTube specific as some of the other video players. So if it's a 1 hour video, you can just in the thumbnail, you can watch the sort of important things.
Okay. 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 So you are saying if I have to make a very short thing of it, then what?
Correct, correct. It's
Okay.
it's like how you do a trailer of a movie, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, probably people also create reels out of it,
Yeah, yeah.
tube shorts. So for that also.
Uh,
Sorry, am I audible, guys?
You got cut off for a few seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Jairam, I lost you, right? You were saying something.
Yeah, I was meaning to say if you want to show a teaser or a trailer of this video, you'd want
Okay.
to show the most engaging parts of the video, right?
Okay. Okay.
That's
Okay.
how the video gets
So
consumed.
instead of a static thumbnail, if you were to create a 3 to 4 second kind of a thing,
Absolutely, yes.
what clip to use? Okay, that's one. Any
But
other
it's
thought?
also probably to just test whether if the users know that certain sections of the video were highly watched, does that affect their own viewing behavior? As in, do people consistently try to watch the most viewed sections of the video? Because
Okay.
that's another important data point that tells you the most engaging sections.
Okay, another could be ad. Okay, where to place ad? That's also good conjecture. Okay, any other bolder conjectures? I am using the word conjecture because I also don't know the answer, but I have a theory around this. So
It could also be used for insight for the creators. Like they could be given feedback that this is
Sure.
where your users drop off and all. So
Okay.
In fact, yeah. So what kind of content should be finally created? If you are
Yeah.
able to extract what sort of content was there in those high engagement points.
Yeah. Any other bolder suggestions?
How long, like,
Some.
how long does it take for someone to get bored, like,
Okay.
and no, skip to another part and
How?
skip to another
Okay.
video?
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, when I thought of YouTube, right? I mean, today's world, if you think the greatest competition comes from the TikToks of the world, right? The 30-second phenomena versus a 15-minute video. I mean, we all understand YouTube is this longer video format. It's not the shorter video format. Of course, they have created a feature called Shorts. I'm not debating that, right? Today, the way they are going about Shorts is that the content creators are encouraged to create shorts manually out of their long videos and post it up, right? But if you look at the Google's fundamental philosophy, a lot of content makers are not going to do this. They may not necessarily understand. Now, imagine if Google were to create a system, an intelligent AI system, where you feed a long video and you get 8 to 10 short videos out of it. What is the hardest part of that problem? In my humble opinion, the hardest part of that problem is to define what is interesting. Because what could be interesting to me might not be interesting to Jairam and vice versa, right? Or it could be interesting to me and Jairam might not be interesting to a Ujjwal or a Shreya. Now, how do you then define what is interesting? So then what you do is you do public, right? You basically say if a lot of people like something, I will call it interesting. That could be one way to solve this problem. And while I think all the points that were raised here are valid points, and this data will be used for all of that, but I believe this data eventually will go into training a system that will take 15, 20, 30 minutes video and dish out 8, 10, 20, 30-second video, and they will all be peaks of this particular graph. Again, that's a conjecture. I don't know how true, how wrong. Time will tell, right? But when I look at the business of YouTube, for me, it's very clear the greatest threat comes from the TikToks of the world, right? And they can't change. We all understand you can't change the behavior of your users, both those who watch and those who create content overnight. So that's one way to go about saving YouTube. Am I clear? Okay. Another very important aspect, like I said, is designing the UX of AI products. Okay. When you are introducing AI to your users, and your users could be of very different type, all of them need not understand AI like some of us might do here on this call, right? It is your job as a product manager to introduce all of this in a very gentle way, right? And what is important is that you don't make a lot of tall claims. I know this is completely opposite to all the demos that we see today on LinkedIn, right, where they claim to do everything. If you look at the literature of AI and if you look at the literature of AI product management, the idea is often to introduce it gently. The idea is often to under promise and over deliver rather than over promise and under deliver, right? So this is the example I'm going to take to illustrate the point. So imagine we all of us got together and created an app, right, where the app you can take a photograph of a plant, and then this app will tell what kind of a plant is it and is it harmful or not harmful, right? So imagine we build this for a lot of people who go for hiking and stuff like that. Now let us look at the right side one, right? The right side, and imagine this is what we put on Play Store. The app is called Plant Pal. There's this nice image, And here is a one-line description. A botanist you can keep in your pocket. Use it to identify any plant and determine if it is safer for people and pets. Right? Now, what is this kind of a language? So here we are making a very tall claim. Let us look at the one on the left, which is typically the reality of most AI systems. Right? A very smart AI product manager will actually do this. He'll say, Plant Pal, it is applicable for what geography? United States. It helps you identify 400 plus plants native to United States and determine if they are safe for adults, cats, and dogs. So one, I clearly said that for what geography it works. Two, for what plant type it works. 400 plus plants which are native, right? The one on the right is a very blanket statement, right? Implicitly, nothing explicit about it, right? But saying that I have not written any geography, and even for safety, it clearly says for adults, cats, and dogs. It may not be able to tell safety for kids, for patients, for older generations, for other pets, and so on and so forth. Right? So you must clarify AI's limitations, especially in high stakes situations. Right? A mistake by an app like this can make someone touch or eat a plant that could be fatal, right? And in a geography like US, this could actually mean a lot of lawsuits against your company, which can result in a bankruptcy as well. It could be as serious as that. On the right, avoid suggesting tech that works perfectly in high stakes situations if the tech isn't yet reliable. Unless you're damn sure about this, don't make such kind of a broad claims, right? So a very important aspect of AI products is UX. As a matter of fact, in a circus, you must have seen artists doing trapeze, and then there is a net that is spread below them, right, as a safety net. UX is one of the most important safety nets, along with some of the other things that we see, that helps to maintain a decent user experience, even in light of a lot of mistakes and stuff like that. Am I clear? Questions? Inputs? Any suggestions? Okay. So the point essentially is AI products require a very specialized UX. And this is a point that a lot of designers and a lot of product managers today are not necessarily aware of. Okay. So we also saw that when we were looking at the Gmail example, right? When Gmail was suggesting something, right? It was actually not in black. It's in a light gray, right? What does it mean? It's a soft suggestion. Something as simple as that makes a lot of difference to AI products. Clear? Okay, I know this must have been a lot for you guys. Let's take a 5-minute break, right? And digest things so far. I will let each of you reflect on what we have covered before we cover the remaining half, right? Uh, in the meanwhile, I'll just give you a brief of what is coming. So, like I said, right, in today's world, there's a twofold challenge. One is if you are not doing AI, you are at serious risk. You could be doing AI, but it it could just mean a bunch of engineers sitting in a corner trying to build a bunch of models, right? That does not necessarily mean it's gonna lead to outcomes and ROI. So how do you do AI which leads to outcomes and ROI, right? This is where me and my company, we work very closely with organizations across the entire spectrum of AI, starting from vision, strategy, road mapping, to are you solving the right use case, data collection, creating data sets, building models, taking them to production, and including GTM and sales, because AI software requires a specialization across all of this, right? And this is how we help organizations get to outcomes which are revenue and market dominance, right? These are three main things that we do. One is we do very specialized L&Ds for very senior stakeholders, including the boards and the CXOs. We do AI software development as well. And third, we do a long-term consulting. We don't work like the Deloittes of the world where we come work on a project and go away. If we're gonna work with you, then we're gonna work with you on a long-term basis of 2, 3, 5 years, whatever it takes, because large outcomes can only be done over a longer period of time, right? Uh, in the initial part of the workshop of today's session, I had said I'll be mostly focusing on why. Right now, a lot of you might have the question of how do I learn this AI product management? When can I learn? Where can I learn? So I, along with Malti, we are doing a 3 weekend workshop. So these will be 3 Saturdays. On each Saturday, we're gonna take 3 to 3.5 hours session. This will be remote first. This is where we will go through how do you build AI first products? How do you, what it takes to become product managers? What are various lessons, strategies, various aspects that you must know, right? This includes hands-on exercises, this includes case studies, and this will also include post-workshop office hours where you will be given tasks, you'll have to complete those tasks, we all will come together and we all gonna learn together. So if any of you are interested, this QR code will take you to that landing page. Uh, this session is starting from uh, 31st of March, which is the next Saturday at 11 a.m. Right? So if you or any of your team members, or if you think this will be of great help to your teams, please do go ahead and suggest them. I'll take a quick pause here. So this answers the what, when, where, and how. After this, we're going to go back to the why part of it. Right? There are 3 more points that I want to cover.
Hi, Anuj. I just want to know if this session will get repeated again, or is it a first and a last 3 week session?
Uh, it all depends. Right now, we have a decent cohort size. So this is contingent to the cohort size. Uh, if we get another cohort size, then it can be repeated. If not, then it might not be repeated. I mean, I can't necessarily say. Today I can't go ahead and predict the future in that sense of it.
Okay.
Any other questions on the workshop part? So we have deliberately staggered the 12 hours across 3 weeks so that you'll have a lot of time to learn, digest. There will be exercises that each of you will have to do, right?
Yeah, Anuj, I have one question related to workshop. So can you give a
Yeah.
detailed session by session on what will be covered, the topics?
Yeah,
Or is
so
all there?
I can give you a flavor of that right now if you like want.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so this is the landing page. If you take that QR code, you will land here. Like I said, 3 sessions, 30th, 6th April, and 13th April, 3 Saturdays. This will be done by me and Malti. Malti has been a product executive and a coach for working over last 22 years in product management. She's also a visiting faculty at IIM Udaipur, right, along with me. And the idea is because this topic lies at the intersection of both product management and AI, right? Hence, we decided to do this together, bringing the best of both the worlds, right? We will give a quick overview of what is AI, a very quick overview, right? We are not going to go into details of it, right? We're going to unpack various layers of what an AI stack looks like. How do you select right use cases? And I'm going to come to that point later. One of the key expectations from a product manager is, are we solving the right problem is always the job of a product manager. And this gets much more tricky when it comes to AI, right? Because AI have a lot of other dimensions over and above the traditional product management dimensions, right? We're gonna look at how the day-to-day working of a traditional PM differs drastically as compared to a AI PM, right? We're gonna look at case studies. We're gonna look at something called ROI curve in AI. There's something that every product manager must understand because this has huge implications on the roadmaps that you create and the execution cycles that you're planning, right? We're gonna look at uh, and then we're going to look at a lot of case studies. How do you apply all these principles? How do you develop specialized UX for AI and apply all this knowledge to various case studies and scenarios, right? So that's the module one. The module two, like I said is understanding that AI is across product, people, and processes. The UX part of it, how do you design UX for AI first products? How do you build feedback loops, right? Understanding the basic constructs of LLMs and GenAI so that when you are working with your teams, you can take or you can make right choices, right? It is augmented. Every topic will be augmented with case studies as well as hands-on exercises, right? We also want to discuss how can product managers today leverage AI to become smarter at their work, right? So this is not building AI, but using AI, right? Uh, how do you build other guardrails like responsible AI, fairness? Uh, why AI product managers are often chosen as the best people to lead AI squads, not the scientists, right? What does stakeholder management in for AI products looks like, which is again very, very drastic as compared to a traditional product management, right? So that's the long and short that we are planning to cover. It's basically an extension of the points that I'm covering today. What I'm covering today is the why part of it, but I have not covered the how part of it at all, right? The workshop is going to be in depth about the how part of it. How do you do ABC? How do you build control loops? How do you build feedback loops? How do you build human in the loop? How do you build data? How do you build data sets and so on and so forth of it.
Yeah, thanks. One follow-up question to this one. So suppose I register, but
Yeah.
on either of the three classes, I miss it out. So will I be getting a recorded sessions for me to cover later in the day?
Yeah, I think that should be possible. This question hadn't crossed our mind so far, but that should be possible. Very much possible.
Right.
I've
Thanks.
also I've also shared the direct link in the chat itself so that all of you can look at it. Okay, so let's go back to the part of okay. So far what we had seen very quickly, right? There are fundamental differences. We looked at stochastic versus deterministic. We looked at control loops, feedback loops, human in the loop. We looked at data collection. We looked at the UX for this. Now we're going to look at three more very important points, right? Why this is also important is you have to understand that product manager is one of those rare jobs which is staggering across user, business, and technology, right? This is not the case with the scientists because scientists are typically concerned with building a model and taking them to production. But who is going to determine the system aspects of it? Who is going to determine are we solving the right problem? Who is going to determine, along with the business leaders, what kind of a ROI you're going to get out of it? Okay. So a key aspect of AI is that today AI is a very expensive technology, right? A lot of companies, a lot of CXOs secretly want to own or have their own chat GPTs, right? Uh, the truth remains, building a chat GPT is anywhere between a $300 to a $400 pursuit today, even today, right? These are some calculations, right? According to this calculation, you actually, if you get everything right from end to end, building a chat GPT will be $100 million pursuit. obviously you're not going to get a lot of things right. You'll have to go back, redo, and all of that stuff. So if I take a 3 to 4x approximation of it, right, we're looking at 300 to 400 billion dollars, right? And this is no small money. No matter, you could be the most funded company on the earth. Also, this really is a fairly large number, right? The second part is the economics of AI is a lot of founders and a lot of CXOs today have the misconception that, so I'm sure a lot of you know that the most beautiful part of SaaS is the 80% margin gain, right? So if you build a SaaS business, in this business, you can easily run at a 80 to 85% margin gain. As a matter of fact, one of the things that a lot of VCs say that if you cannot run at that, it's actually not a SaaS game, right? What is SaaS? You build once, you serve many, and then you're charging. So far in AI, there is not a single company that has been able to get to anywhere close to that. As a matter of fact, there is an argument that one can present logically, arguing that more in AI companies, you will not be able to go beyond a 40% margin, right? Now, the extreme of that is, we all know the extreme of SaaS is IT services, which are typically 15 to 80% gain. So what you're going to stagger is between IT services and SaaS, neither of the extremes. Now, this will have huge implications on your revenues, on your operational expenses, and overall from a business and a balance sheet point of view. Now, the best person to understand this is, of course, the business side and the AI product manager. Rather, in a lot of cases, it will be an AI product manager who will be expected to teach a lot of these things to the business leaders. I'll take a pause. You understand what I covered here, right? So one is, so this is purely the margin game. There are two extremes. One is SaaS, one is IT services. The claim that I'm making here is that AI today seems to be landing somewhere halfway between this, right? So the party that SaaS uh, founders had by combining the strategy that you build from India and you sell in US, right, along with the fact that you can get very high margins, is not gonna show up in AI. Folks, questions? Did the point make sense?
Hey Anuj, I had a question. So
Yeah.
it's not actually really a question. I'm just trying to think more about it. So like as you said, like the margin game stands between SaaS and IT, but like SaaS typically has that model, like a few smart people working together, and whereas IT is heavily like people centric. A lot of people are there, but like with AI, I guess even the stand like the the engineers and the product people working on it, the standard is higher, I guess, even high,
So,
like it's quite high. But so how does the dynamic work out, like with
so
between?
that's a completely different question, right? How does the people aspects of AI teams shape out? I'll be very honest, that is not what I'm addressing today. I think that's a very separate talk altogether. How do you incubate and groom world-class AI teams? That's a very different topic. The
Hmm.
point that here I'm making is between SaaS and IT purely from a margins point of view. So think you are the head of a business, think of you are the CBO or a CFO of the company, right? From that point, how does this whole game is going to play out? So the claim I'm making is this is not going to be anywhere close to the SaaS that we have seen so far. And very low margins will have huge implications. Why the margins are low and all of that is something that we're going to cover in the workshop.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, let's move on, guys. Okay. Another important point, like I said, right? I mean, one of the expectations from a AI or a product manager is to have the development roadmap kind of laid out, right? Or the product roadmap. Now, product roadmap have two aspects. One is what all will be built. Second, when it will be built. The when part is taking into considerations the engineering aspects. Now, traditional software development or 1.0 has gone to a level whereby you can quickly assemble a system, right? In today's world, if you want to build an app, you can actually ship it out in 2 3 weeks time, and then over and above that, you can keep on applying patches and kind of take it to very very far. AI has this very funny thing whereby imagine you applied a particular algorithm, you got 80%. Now you applied a better algorithm, you got 85. You applied a better one, you got 90, right? At some point of time, this algorithm will stagnate. So imagine the performance has stagnated to 92%. Now, no matter what you do, how much you fine tune, how much parameters you change, even if you add a lot of data, you can change the improvement only by 1 or 2%. Now, if you want to go beyond, say, from 92 to say 97, your only option is to go back and start from scratch all over again. Right? So it's like you're trying to climb a mountain. You start from the eastern direction. Two, uh, 200 meters before the summit, you realize that you actually have a vertical cliff. What will you do? Your only option is to go back and then try and mount or climb the mountain from the western front or the northern front or the southern front, right? AI development is actually like that, because of which it has huge implications on your timelines. Anyways, you are dealing with the uncertainty part of the stochastic nature, right? So how do you test AI softwares? You can't test them in the traditional way. If I give this input, I will get this output. You can't do that, because by very nature we have already discussed they are stochastic in nature. Over and above the development processes itself, there will be time when you'll have to go back and start from ground zero, because no matter what you do, you are not able to go beyond a certain threshold. Okay, so this has, again, a product manager needs to understand this fairly well, because this needs to be baked in the PRDs. This needs to be baked in the roadmap. Okay, there are other aspects like fairness, privacy and security, reliability, inclusiveness, right, which are both on the ethical and the explainable side, right? Your software, your AI softwares, there have been a lot of instances where some of the very best models, when they were shown an image of a person coming or a black person, then they said, hey, this person is likely to be a thief or a criminal. Why? Because the data set have those biases. Why does data set have those biases? Because these are human biases that are there in the data, and the algorithm has learned these biases from your data sets. These biases can have huge implications, legal implications on your products, on your entire organization. So a couple of mistakes by an AI product manager can actually bring down your company overnight. There have been, I think there was a lawyer who tried to use a chat GPT to fight a case or create a case and fight it in the US court of the law. He made certain claims, and later on, the judge discovered that those claims were not human vetted. They were generated by machines and they were false. And this guy had to pay a huge penalty, and I think he was barred for a year or two or something like that. So there are a lot of cases where AI has got you into trouble. I think recently Canada Airlines, the chatbot presented only certain kind of buying options to a user, and that lady ended up buying a very expensive ticket. Now she had sued the entire Air Canada, and they are in a big suit because of that one mistake. So a product manager needs to understand all these aspects very well, right? Uh, this is another important point, that AI development today is not like software development where you can go from path A to path B in a very seamless manner. While it is not a pure R&D, it is still applied R&D. So in most cases, The best of the AI teams upfront will not know where is the model or the answer going to come from. They're going to do a lot of trial and error before they get to a decent point. Why is it this important to know? Because it will have implications on your roadmaps and timelines. In traditional software, your problem statement is important. In AI software, you also need to know what kind of a data set the problem will be used on, or what kind of a data the system is likely to see. So if I give a problem to identifying cat versus dog, and I think each of you must go back in your teams and do this, gather a bunch of engineers and do a quick show of hand. How many of you can create a model that will separate or will be able to identify an image of a cat from an image of a dog? I think all of them will raise hands. And if you ask them to implement, I think in 3 hours, most of them will be able to come up with a model as well. But the fact is, they have not understood the problem definition completely. What is also important is what is the kind of data the system is likely to see in production. If it is left, the kind of data what is on the left, most models that will be built by these data scientists will actually do very well. But if the data is likely to be the kind of data which is on the right, and if you see very carefully, you'll realize the one on the left is a cat and not a dog. Most of those models will fail miserably. Now imagine you are doing this in a scenario where the kind of mistakes the model makes is a high stake thing, right? Your systems are going to blow left, right, and center in production, right? Your CXOs are going to go after you like anything. So the point I'm trying to make is how do you even understand problem statement? So a machine learning problem statement is not written in text and understood in text. You actually have to create what is called as a golden data set and understand the complexity of the problem by capturing it in the golden data set. How do you do that is another very important aspect that PMs need to know. Like I said, in most cases, AI projects will suffer a lot of setbacks. It often ends up on the AI product management to be its champion, to champion that whole project, because they can talk of the language that a lot of CXOs understand as opposed to engineers. And that's how they often safeguard or are able to save a lot of projects from being overnight being shut down. Another important thing, manage users, manage business, and manage technology. In AI projects, AI product managers are the best people. The daily run, I have always said that for me and all the teams that I've built in my journey, I've been extremely careful of the product manager I hire for my AI teams. Rather, I've been very clear in even expressing if I have to close my eyes and make one choice between a product manager, between a AI product manager and a smart AI scientist, I will choose a AI product manager unless the AI project is of a highly R&D nature. Okay. All these points are largely based on my own journey of having been there, done this for last 20 years. Yeah, that's from my side. Open to questions. Was this of any use? Did it make sense, guys?
Yeah,
I,
Aravind, I just want to make a statement and kind of see how it is relevant.
Yeah.
After listening to all this, what I feel, what I want to understand is how are the opportunities for AI product manager going to be in terms of numbers? Quality, I understand based on what you said.
Yeah. So again, right, if you look carefully, Arvind, right? I started by saying that AI is no more an option, right? And for IT to adopt, it took us good 15, 20 years. Cloud, 10 years. AI is going to be 3 years. So this is going to change very, very rapidly, right? In my own journey, I have come across only a handful of very good AI product managers, especially when it comes to the India market. Most of them are not even aware of these kind of nuances. So the ones who do will be the ones who will be the wanted folks. Is it gonna happen in 3 weeks? Maybe not. 3 months, I would say it will start to happen.
Okay.
Did I answer your question, Arvind?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if you go and look at the Googles of the world, even if you look at the Google India, right, you see a lot of them are actually called TPMs over there, technical product managers. Precisely because you need to know a lot about technology. You may not know all the maths that goes into all of this stuff. That is not needed. But there are these lot of newer aspects that you need to know if you really want to be a part of a good AI team and contribute in building a good AI first product.
Right, I get that. But at the same time, would you like to throw some light on, compared to the FANG or MANG companies, you just mentioned about Google.
Hmm.
How many other companies are there that are actually doing AI work where a product manager can contribute from the Indian standpoint?
A lot of them. I mean, there are a lot of companies. If you look at a lot of any company that has been doing AI for 2 to 3 years would have realized this. That I can give you in writing, right? And all those companies need very smart product managers. I don't have a quantified number as such, right? Are does this mean 3,000 or 30,000, 3 lakh, right? I don't know that part of it. But what I know for sure is this breed of product managers is very rare. And again, if Netflix has access to the entire talent in Valley, even they are struggling. Think of companies in India; they will struggle. I've, I mean, that's the reality. And when it comes to salaries, you're looking at easily 2x, 3x as compared to traditional product managers.
Okay, thank you.
Anuj, you've slightly answered the question that I had, which is regarding the expertise of an AI product manager. Like a technical product manager is someone who should be aware of nitty-gritty elements of technology, how things are built, but he doesn't have to understand the math behind it, right? So, can you elaborate more on that? What kind of technical skills are expected from an AI product manager?
Okay, so I thought the entire presentation was all. In the entire presentation, I did not ever talk about building a model.
Yeah.
Building a model is a job of an AI scientist or an AI engineer, whatever you want to call it. Right? That is not what is expected of a product manager. A lot of product managers today believe if I have to learn a AI, it means I have to learn how to build a model. That's a wrong thing. If you know nothing like it, I'm not saying that, but it is not necessarily. Look at all the points that I talked about. Most AI scientists are not aware of, and that's the distinction between a PM and an engineer. In my entire presentation, there was not a single word about building a model.
Understood. So this will be like a typical trio: product design and engineering. Even in the case of AI product management, product manager should know the specific elements in order to collaborate with the engineers, but he doesn't have to be a technical expert. Is that an
Yeah,
accurate
but
statement?
these points, these 7, 8 points, a AI product manager must know this inside out.
Right.
And this has nothing to do with building a data set also. Like I said, once you get to a data set and beyond, that is where a AI scientist or a AI engineer's job starts.
Got it. All right.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, no, you're able to say something. Before I move to the next question, I would
No,
like to.
so I thought the whole presentation is about what a AI product manager must know, right? And these whys are the reasons of it.
Got it. Got it. Understood. I mean, keeping that in mind, I mean, the next question kind of answers. I mean, whatever you said so far kind of answers the next question as well. But do you think going forward, AI product management role would be divided further, like how, like what happened with traditional product management? For example, like computer vision specialist, NLP specialist, GenAI specialist.
I think we are still little far from this.
Yeah.
Right. This is a crystal ball gazing. See, for some companies it does, right? But these are again come. So imagine you are trying to apply to Alexa for an AI product manager. Obviously, you need to know a lot more about NLP as compared to vision. That will be expected, right? But then look at the maturity that exists in the Alexa team. They have been doing this for last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it will be a function of the maturity within the team as well. So 3 years down the line, it can happen. Or unless somebody comes up with a generic intelligence that can learn anything anyway. I mean, that seems little far-fetched, at least today.
Understood. Got it. Thank you. Thank you much.
Okay. Folks, we are closer to 3:30. Questions, please. Anything else? I'm just going to leave this here so that for those who are interested can look at this stuff.
I would appreciate maybe if you can throw a little more light on the hands-on exercises and the case studies that you mentioned there.
Yeah. So, okay. So imagine, I mean, okay. So like one of the things we're going to cover is a framework of how do you identify right problem statements for AI. Not every problem statement is a right problem statement from a business point of view. Okay. Now that hands-on exercises will mean you'll be given certain scenarios, you'll have to apply those frameworks and learn and figure out what is a good, what is not a good, and how do you do, right? Case studies will be about how certain organizations or certain teams or certain scenarios where certain teams went about building AI systems and the kind of things they did, what they did. Right. So in terms of this could be on data collection, this could be on designing the UX for it, right? How do you, in a particular case, how you could have designed a UX better, or how mistakes of model can bring down your business overnight, right? How can you go about? So what are some of the learnings from there? So hands-on exercises, like I said, will be about various things that are taught in the course. You'll be given exercises where you'll have to apply it, right, to reinforce the learning. And case studies will be a way to further reinforce the best practices. Did I answer your question, Arvind?
Got it. Thank you.
Questions? A lot of silence. So if there are no more questions, then I think we are done. Last call. Any questions, any inputs, any feedbacks? I love to even listen to feedback. I mean, did this even make sense or not?